Riots, French fries, and Harrison Ford are all on this day. Hey, welcome back to On This Day. Today's date is July 13th. It is the 195th day of the year. There's 171 days left in 2020. It is the 23rd day of summer. There's 71 days left until fall. If today's your birthday, your birthstone is either a ruby or an onyx. Today is National French Fry Day. National French Fry Day seeks to encourage the consumption of French fries. I guess the title is self-explanatory. French Fry Day. What do they want you to do? It's not like it's a day of looking at French fries. Anyway, I think this is a useless day. It's not like there's a bunch of people that hate French fries. I love them. Most everyone I know loves them. According to the International Business Times, Americans eat an estimated 29 pounds of French fries per person per year, and I think that's a serious underestimate. All right, let's take a look and see what else happened on July 13th. 1863, New York City, the draft riots. In New York City, opponents of conscription began 3 days of rioting, which will be later regarded as the worst rioting in United States history, to that point, obviously. The rioters were overwhelmingly white working class men, mostly Irish or of Irish descent. They feared free black men would be taking their jobs, and they were also pissed off that the wealthier white men were buying their way out of the Civil War. Back then, you could pay $300, about $6,200 in 2020 money, and have someone go in your place. You could basically hire someone if you got selected for the draft. As you can imagine, this pissed a lot of people off. In the end, about 120 people were killed in the riots. Now, we're going to almost jump 100 years in the future on this one because, honestly, it's really weird. Nothing really of note happened from the New York City riots to the 1956 thing that's about to happen. It's really weird. There's just a couple things, but nothing really of note. Anyway, 1956, the Dartmouth Workshop. This is the first conference on artificial intelligence. The project lasted 8 weeks and was essentially an extended brainstorming session about artificial intelligence. In the early 1950s, there were various names for this field: thinking machines, cybernetics, autonomous theory, and the complex information processing. In the end, they chose artificial intelligence partly because they felt it was neutral and wouldn't really offend anyone or didn't have any arguments on why it shouldn't be that. Artificial intelligence seemed to appeal to everyone, so they went with it. We still use that to this day. 1977, New York City. During an already depressing time in the city, an electrical blackout lasting nearly 24 hours goes down in New York City. This leads to widespread fires and looting. That's weird. Never thought that would have happened. Anyway, over 3,000 people were arrested, and the city's already crowded prisons were so overburdened that some suggested reopening the recently condemned Manhattan Detention Complex. Yeah, this place was shut down because it was so nasty they almost reopened it to stuff all the looters in it. All of this led to the widespread belief that New York City was in an irreversible decline and beyond any form of redemption, and they should just mow it over. Chase everyone out of the city and turn it into a giant parking lot. 1985, the Live Aid benefit concert takes place in London and Philadelphia, as well as other venues such as Moscow and Sydney. The original event was organized to raise funds for the relief of the ongoing Ethiopian famine. Now, the one in London and the one in Philadelphia happened at the same time, but on the same day, concerts that were inspired by the initiative were held in other countries such as Soviet Union, Canada, Japan, Yugoslavia, Austria, Australia, and West Germany. It was a very interesting time to be a teenager like I was at the time. 2016, Prime Minister of the UK, David Cameron, resigns and is succeeded by Theresa May. Yeah, this was not a very exciting day in history. It's kind of weird. Let's move on to the movies. Premiered on July 13th, 1977, The Spy Who Loved Me, Roger Moore. He was my favorite of all the James Bond. He appeared in 7 of them, from 1973 to 1985. And by the way, he was actually knighted when he passed away. He was knighted years before that, but he passed away as Sir Roger Moore. 1990, Ghost. Demi Moore and Patrick Swayze. This is one of the most romantic movies you'll ever see that's got a little sci-fi, ghosty trip thing to it. If you're around my age, you had to have seen it. Born on July 13th, 1942, Harrison Ford, American actor and producer. I didn't know Harrison Ford was that old. I really didn't. I thought he was a little bit younger, but yeah, amazing actor. I remember the first time I ever saw him was in American Graffiti. I thought he was pretty cool. Then, of course, he goes on to be Han Solo and becomes like the greatest actor of our generation. Not really, but to a lot of us, he's pretty cool. 1946, Cheech Marin of Cheech and Chong. He is born. American actor and comedian. Him and Chong did this great stand-up act back in the day. That's what they start off doing. And and they used to pretend they were dogs and have a conversation like two dogs would. They kept sniffing each other's butts. It was great. 1957, Cameron Crowe, American director, producer, and screenwriter. If you've never seen Almost Famous, that is one of my favorite movies. I love that movie. Anyway, he wrote it, and it's loosely based on his life as a young fan of rock and roll, and he became a writer, and he went and toured with a band when he was only like 16 years old and wrote for Rolling Stone. Amazing movie. Died on July 13th, one of the most unfortunate American Indian names I have ever heard. Young man afraid of his horse. Yeah, that was his name. He was an American tribal chief. 2006, Red Buttons, American actor and comedian. He was old school comedy, like way back. I thought he was funny growing up. I'd see him on different things, you know, hanging out at my grandmother's house as a young man. I lost all respect for him when he sued a local radio station in Los Angeles because they did a commercial about their morning show in there, and they were joking around. They said, "We're funny. We're like Eddie Murphy funny, not Red Buttons funny." That's all they said. This back in the early 90s or whatever. And he sued them. And I remember him on the news going, "Well, they're attacking my livelihood." I'm a, what livelihood? You haven't done anything in years. It's like, come on. It was ridiculous. 2010, George Steinbrenner dies. American businessman, head guy for the Yankees for a lot of years. All right, that's today's list. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you got some information out of it. It was not a terribly exciting day. I almost thought about just passing over today because it kind of sucked. But hey, we did it. Everyone, have a very productive day. Go forth, be successful, and be nice to each other.